Hey, look, it's my head, which is not 2 bottles of cough syrup. Deep thoughts. Oh, the coffee is extra glorious. Stone fucking cold room temperature, but tasty nonetheless. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. And welcome back to just the most fascinating perspective in all of the fucking internet. Mine. Oh, yes. Deep thoughts. I was watching Mr. David Pakman. Recommended video popped up. I still watch David Pakman. His videos pop up, even though I watch David Pakman. His videos pop up less than Joe Rogan's videos, whom I no longer watch. And that's special. But it just occurred to me. People that are relatively bright, um, but tend to want to stick to little clicky type fact groups, they're just not very deep. They're just basically shallow people who don't give life or anything much thought. They, drink with their faces in the water, so to speak. And when it all comes down to it, that's really why people are atheists. It's really why so many people haven't figured out the depths of what's going on here. They don't understand just how much and how long for one side has been played against the other. But anyway, scribbled a couple notes down here. But I think the interesting news of the hour is the fact that earlier, and those of you with the ability on the technical side to do so can timestamp this. Just as I was on a live stream talking about the economic collapse and mentioning a set of circumstances that are entirely fact-based, which are good evidence of Donald Trump's involvement in September 11th. And as I was discussing these things, the economy started to collapse. I was just talking about an economic collapse. And right there, about 15 minutes into the start of the broadcast, somewhere between the time I first mentioned Felix Sater's connections to Al Qaeda, right before he built the fucking, got involved with Trump, and then Trump built the tower next to the UN, which he hated, so he could get all the customers from the Trade Center, which he hated, but had his best friend buy. somewhere between Felix Sater and Brian Sexer. The little line, the little red line, you know, the Dow. It just started going. Wait, what is it? It doesn't do that. No, it does that. Yes. If it did that, we'd all be fucked. I think the stocks are time traveling. I'm not. So if somebody invented a time machine and their company went public, then the stocks would do. And now, coincidentally, on the day that I pretty much released the bombshell of bombshells, tying the entirety of our previous discussions and revelations and findings, tying that all together into basically an investigable memorandum, you know, summary of probable cause. It's too bad, like, all my communications are basically fucking silenced and controlled. You gotta be persistent and try to get to me, or be someone I already regularly contact. You know. They gotta balance the fine line between how far they push somebody, knowing just how good they are with, you know, electronics and chemicals and, well, tectonic plates, that kind of thing. Well, howdy, persons. Bitcoin, stay away from that, man. Bitcoin is one of the key instruments that Russian intelligence services and Chinese intelligence services, namely communism, the Horde, the newer term that I've adopted to it, or you know how new that is, the Horde, right? That's a new thing, right? It's a new thing that the kids should be calling it these days. No, it's something that we called it for thousands of years, and we just frickin' forgot recently. We just pretend it doesn't exist, never existed. What? Oh, that was a long time ago. No, it never fucking stopped. Everywhere that the Horde was, then came the Soviet Union. That supposedly collapsed, now it's all Putin's union. So, you know, understand that you're just a naive Western person. And you don't understand the ways of the East. It's called the Horde. And, Bitcoin has been used basically to skim money off of ad revenue. And the reason why it's dangerous is because of the people who understand the ad revenue and how Bitcoin actually works are capable of manipulating it to their advantage at any time. Okay? And you got to really understand how the internet is used to funnel money in general to get that. Because, and that's something I'm worried about. Our government, our, you know, like, our, an Adam Schiff type people, how well do they really get how easy it is for YouTube in particular? AdSense payouts. If you don't think AdSense payouts have been used to launder Russian money for foreign intelligence, or, more appropriately, have been used to basically steal American money to use to fund Russian intelligence operations. I, to me, not think like the fact that our government might not be thinking about that, isn't looking at that, isn't you know building a physical piece of fucking machinery just to hack Google, just to find that out. Okay, that kind of priority to that kind of thing. Okay, it's like being in a horror movie or some dangerous fucking situation in a forest and only looking at ground level. There could be all kinds of shit up there. And you just, armadillo, Roger Stone, Julian Assange, Rabbit, Were Eagle. Okay. You've never had to cancel an afternoon tea party in a hurry until you get swooped down on by a fucking were eagle. Not sure what that is, but it sounds terrifying. Anyway, a were eagle. I don't know what the sound were eagle. It makes me want to ride it. You know, like I want to be the master of such a beast. It's like a griffin, only like more pissed off. Fucking were eagle. Normally just a regular old eagle, and then it turns into a giant fucking terrible dragon looking feathery thing in the full moon. Were eagle. Yes. Okay, I'm done. So, here's the deal. Basic synopsis of AdSense money funneling and laundering. MSNBC, skippable ads. Illegitimate upload that I just found of what movie was it? Some American movie that I wanted. Oh, Spawn. Spawn. The movie Spawn. On some random fucking shit show sounding channel. Not even like See Movies Now or something like that. Just like Jerry Fuckernut, you know, like I think it was Jerry or Joe. Yeah, Jerry. Guy's actual fucking name and like some stupid shit, okay? Unskippable ad. 15 seconds. Now they're playing. Your ad will play in 15 seconds instead of you can skip the ad in 5 seconds or whatever. CNN, even David Pakman. Shit like that. Skippable ad. Agenda pushing shit in general, left or right, unskippable ad. Funding those they favor, basically. Now, when it comes to just outright getting fucking money, they upload shit from Russian monetized channels, and Google somehow lets them monetize channel after channel. Has been letting them do it for a decade. And then they'll delete the channel, and then another channel gets created just like it. And they're not only, a lot of them sometimes monetized and therefore getting paid. These Russian fucking, who the fuck, whoever the fucks, are getting paid for 2,000, 10,000 views. Content they just fucking upload from this feeder website that they have. Meanwhile, the Rachel Maddow broadcast that is in a copy of doesn't get as much views. So a given Rachel Maddow episode, right, maybe has a total of how many views? First of all, let me just point out, it's probably 20 million views by the end of the night every night. That's probably how many people watch Rachel Maddow on YouTube worldwide as soon as they're uploaded. Okay? Most of those viewers watch random, different, like you'll get a different channel than me showing Rachel Maddow or CNN clips or different things like that. And they suggest these different random channels so nobody can catch on to the fuckery and see how much money they're actually stealing from these American news channels. And Fox News isn't immune. Well, it's nothing like seeing somebody walking around kicking themselves in the ass. So anyways, earlier I was discussing how I both sent an email that might have contributed to the economic collapse and sent the email that saved the country from the economic collapse. And then I talked about how, what's his name? Half man, half goat. Sater. Felix Sater. Let's just call him Baphomet. No. Felix Sater. Now you got me one. Now I got myself wondering his ancient name and shit. Anyways, Felix Sater provided a lot of very privileged information to the U.S. government during the Clinton years, right before Donald Trump's move on New York City, or move on the United Nations and the World Trade Organization. A were-eagle is like a were-rabbit. Neither one is a match for a were-gator. Especially one that was manufactured by the Tentex Corporation. Never mind. fictional characters. The closest thing I ever came to role playing. Because I was chasing some pussy. I mean, memories. But anyways, for a long time I've been chasing this connection. You know, Trump built these fucking towers. You know, generally speaking, you want to conquer something. If you're wise and patient, you build towers. You know, it's almost like a nostalgic form of spiritual warfare. You know, building towers to conquer a land. And Trump's big fucking square board cube looking black tower right across from the UN. Sure did go up in a hurry. And I never thought the connection would be as simple as Felix freaking Sater. But after that, after Trump got away with it, you know, being interviewed by a fucking random East German guy on fucking 9/11 talking about his friend fucking Larry Silverstein and shit. His other friend, Alex Jones, just conveniently turned a blind eye into that, as if they were in some sort of conspiracy together. I mean, you understand that because Alex Jones never mentioned Silverstein and Trump being friends, that means Alex Jones is in on the fucking conspiracy. Period. That is inescapable logic. You cannot reconcile that in any other way. What the fuck does Alex Jones supposedly do? He's a conspiracy theorist. What kind of conspiracy theorist? A 9/11 fuck truther. You know who else was a 9/11 truther from day one? Trump. Didn't go out and say it, but he was sowing the seeds on fucking day one with his phone calls and shit. Talking about bombs in the building and... Yeah, he would know. He paid the fucking guys who put him there more than likely. Oh, but what would Donald Trump know about demolishing a building in New York City? Right before, he's talking about, can't we update the Trade Center? Can we make it, rebuild it, maybe make it bigger and beautiful? I want it to be bigger. I want it to be better. I love the Trade Center. I just want it to be better. That was him before 9/11. After 9/11, I always loved the Trade Center. I loved it exactly the way it was. I never wanted it to change. I always wanted it to be there, be exactly the way it was. Now, talk about money. I'm not too worried about Mueller. because of the sheer amount of shit that was redacted on the Mike Flynn sentencing memorandum that was released today. But it seems the public, the reporting, seems to want to stick to chasing the small fries. Okay? They don't seem to know how to inform people about how fucking Facebook and AdSense and paid ads and shit work. And how much people need to know about that to understand how to protect their rights and their information. And how to understand how little legal rights we have and how we need to pass laws that disallow foreign funded corporations to set up a more powerful government on top of our fucking government. Antitrust laws don't even fucking describe what Google has become. They are a fucking behemoth. You want to build a website? Troll monitors, let me get your attention. If you wanted to go into business for yourself, if you wanted to build a fucking website, if you had the best idea for a website ever, you want one? I'll give you one right now. A website that you can go to search for movies to see which streaming service has the movie. Okay? What would happen if you tried to make that website right now? Independently. First of all, fucking websites aren't indexed properly anymore because they're basically all designed to be conducive to Google's proprietary algorithm. So you'd have to get those fucking websites to open up their search indexing so you could build your own fucking basically like snooping program to update the movie listings. All right. And you would never be able to get the bandwidth on Google to compete with Google. You'd never get search results because then you're competing with Google. Google will just come out with a similar product within a matter of weeks, maybe days, maybe hours. And your brilliant idea, first of all, impossible to implement because of Google. Then, before you got the kinks figured out, Google's already got one. And people can just search for the fucking movie and then it pops up and now your site's useless. By all means, take that idea and run with it. Try. Go ahead. Best of luck to you. My dad and I were talking about similar problems and how you'd have to, I mean, he said it was even beyond his ability to compress data enough to get it through Google's fuckery, basically. But they get to choose not only who speaks, who gets listened to, and who gets paid for it, but Google has managed to become an entity that decides who else gets to be an entity. They are more dangerous than any oil company, software company, ever. The same way we used to, and are supposed to supposedly regulate broadcasting and shit like that. We need to have similar percentile mandates for corporations. Okay? And I, as an entrepreneur, as an inventor, okay, would be perfectly comfortable if my company grew to expand across the entire nation, okay, and then they decided to divide my company up and make two corporations plus my little company in the middle, and then I compete with branches of my own stuff, and I'll still get royalties until my patents expire. But if somebody expands to that point, they need to realize, first of all, your good idea is only worth so many fucking cars and nice houses and shit, okay? At some point, your success is because of the consumer. It's because of the people who buy your shit. Not just because of the money that they have that pays for it, but because of what they do in the world around you that contributes to your life. And to think any differently is to believe in lordship. And that's what we got. We got a sense of corporate lordship that is fucking detestable in this country. You have some corporations, some corporate leaders who think properly and understand. That's why they vote Democrat. They understand that a corporation's success is dependent on the people who spend money there and the people who work there. But there's a hell of a lot more corporations who aren't. And I think one of the best ways to make sure that happens is to put a cap on how big a national corporation should be. There should be strict regulations on mass communication related companies. Okay. If you're a guy who makes a single product and the product is just a gimmick and it just, you make a bunch of them, you can sell them everywhere, that's your shit. Keep it until the fucking patent expires. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things that can influence and affect the entire country. Okay? Shouldn't be allowed to be put into one small group's hands. So say, for instance, with cell phones, and everything would have to be done differently, but cell phones. I should be able to choose from among more than two possible operators. I either have to go with the most expensive thing there is, or I get Google. That's it. Or I don't get to do shit. There should be a breakup of Google, okay, and there should be different companies that have to compete with each other. And I should be able to choose between two different fucking companies. As a person who can't afford the iPhone, you know, I got this iPhone SE. They only made that once, and I don't know how long they're gonna make the little cheap iPhones. I got the iPhone SE cheap. I don't like iPhone. I don't like the interface, and I sure as hell can't afford the new one. So what am I to do when my iPhone breaks? I got to go back to Google, right? 'Cause there's no Microsoft. There's no more BlackBerry. Even BlackBerry comes with Google now. BlackBerry OS is now just Google with a little BlackBerry written on it. Yeah, the camera is bitching, okay, and uh, it works. You know, it's a good phone, solid. You know, it feels like high quality, right? You get that sense of it for sure. But I don't dare, after what happened with my Google phones, I want that iPhone to stay. Dingo, cut it out. I want that iPhone to stay actually working. So I'm not downloading Facebook and Twitter. I'm not downloading either one of them. I don't trust it. Not at all. Apple has never been immune to viruses. They've just never bothered fighting them. Okay? See, if somebody wants to put spyware on your computer, and that's what fucking viruses really boil down to, it's cover for the real problem, which is spyware. If somebody wants to put spyware on your computer, a Microsoft system fights back. Fighting back is what grinds your system to a halt. Okay? Apple doesn't fight back. So all that happens to an Apple is, over a couple of years, it slowly gets slower and slower and slower until you have to buy a new one because you just feel like it's old. And they applied that same technology to their phones. So, Apple better than Google, but not much. Microsoft, just one more little tiny step in the right direction. You know who I really wish would make fucking phones? IBM. Oh, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't you? Well, I would so buy an IBM phone. Every geek executive, every fucking techie, and like every old guy, just who liked to be an old guy for the sake of being a fucking I'm old, you know. IBM, it's America's original. We invented computers, rah, America. Dingo, cut it out. He's so old and sickly. It hurts my feelings to yell at him, but I can't just sit there and listen to him chewing his paw. Anyways, so back to chasing the big fucking money instead of the little small fries with the emails. There's another friend of Felix Sater. He's also friends with that oligarch that Trump did the music video for his son, right? That guy. believe his name is Oleg Deripaska. And he invested $400 million into Facebook. Right when the Tea Party started. Huh. And then Trump had his little beauty pageant. Now, what is the tactically correct, and this is how I figure things out, what is the tactically correct thing that should have been done in this given situation? That is how you figure out what would have been done by a competent opponent. Okay? Like, say, let me just give an example. The enemy is coming forward in a valley. You're on a mountain, you build your defenses facing that valley. Do you put all your men lined up on those defenses facing the valley and assume that you're going to get a nice kill zone? Or do you prepare to be flanked? Okay? You see, this is a good strategy, but it is not tactically correct to assume that that would work. So you don't put all your forces in that frontline defense. You expect for the enemy to come against your defense or anticipate it. Either way, they will withdraw a portion of their forces and try to flank you. You need to have somebody waiting in ambush for the flankers. That's called tactically correct. And if you're good, you will have set up the entire thing with the intention of being flanked. Anyways. Set up a few hundred ambushes in my day. So, when it comes to politics and bullshit, deciding or figuring out what is tactically correct seems to be, well, just we can't. Oh no, it's too much for us. I don't get it. It's really not that hard. Okay, you just have to have like a memory of how like time happens and things, events, and just need to be a competent human being, basically, or borderline competent like me. What is the tactically correct length of time between one action, overt action, to another action, so that no one connects the two without otherwise having the connection being warranted? Okay, like, if a sequence of events happens, right, like 1 month this happens, then 1 month this happens, you know those events probably fucking connected. Like, if say some random rich guy, let's call him Schmonald Pump, okay? If Schmonald Pump went to some, you know, corrupt mafia-like country, uh, let's call it Shersha, okay? If Schmonald Pump went to Shersha and threw them a big fucking party, and came back to America and was just talking crazy against the government here. And then right after he got back from Shmersha or whatever, Shmersha invaded its neighbor. He's talking all this shit after just getting back from there, and then they go and invade. And he's like basically quoting the propaganda that they're using to help themselves invade. If that happened a week apart, a month apart, it'd be pretty fucking obvious, right? What's the tactically correct length of time to ensure that that doesn't happen? The answer is 18 months. The answer is approximately a year and a half. And the reason why is because, generally speaking, public events are held annually or referred to annually. It was this time last year that we were blah, blah, blah. Or, welcome to this year's event. Our last year's event was blah, blah, blah. Welcome to the Miss Universe pageant. A year and a half before the invasion of Crimea. You chasing small fry? These big fish have been schooling together for a long time. These oligarchs aren't pawns. They're rooks. They're on the back row in high seats. They got a clear view. I wish the same could be said for more of us. Putin trusts them not to coordinate activities, but to carry out activities that are coordinated. So if you have one oligarch doing one thing, and then a year and a half later another oligarch doing one thing, and then a year and a half later another... And let me tell you, planning shit in 5 and 10 year increments, it's not only something that the Eastern cultures are more attuned to, should you say? But let me tell you this. As someone who has lived many lifetimes to very extensive ages, the age of 70 still seems very young to me, but to a modern human being, that seems extremely old. And to someone who's had a more concentrated lifetime of experience, such as myself, or certainly such as Putin, having done all the different things he's done, okay? After he passed about the age of 40, Every plan he made was in 5 and 10 year increments. And you can bet your ass that since the early 90s, he was lining up electoral maps, one season after another, for how the United States could be changed and manipulated. You want to know how I know he did that? Because that's what I would have done, because it's tactically fucking correct. He knew exactly when they would install Trump, as long as he lived long enough. And well, when it comes to fucking evil people like that, don't they just live forever? You know, the good die young, assholes live forever, isn't that how it goes? Oh no, the Russians know so much about life and death, especially death, that I can't imagine they had any doubts about the calculations they made on Trump's life expectancy. They probably had genetic data going back 5 generations. Why? Again, because that's what I would have done. It's unbelievable how I'm not, like, paid to apply myself. At this point, I must say, it's hard to pick a side. A bunch of dishonest cowards on one side, you got a bunch of grabastic douchebags on the other. And who do you pick, you know? Lukibon, I choose you. Let's see what else we got on the notes. So, Pac-Man, what I was watching earlier, and this would be one of the many examples of things that you could maybe do me a favor. As far as YouTubers go, I just can't accept that Pac-Man is completely compromised. I think he's just brainwashed. I think he's genuinely trying. He's just not that deep of a person to be able to see the spiritual side of this. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, I, as a spiritual person, see the fact-based side of this more clearly than he does. And I think it would be worthwhile for you, my viewers, to make a habit of telling him as much. If you happen to watch his channel, see something that he gets wrong that I've told you better on, go ahead and inform him, and as to where you got the information. Because I think a productive starting point would be for him to interview me. And of course I'd be interviewing him a little back. Now, one thing they talked about was Trump has now said that he wants to talk to China and Russia about getting our massive, or whatever it was, defensive spending under control. Talking about reducing defense spending. He's been claiming that he's going to increase defense spending. The liberal morons have been claiming that he's actually increased defense spending. Actually, Obama increased it to 712 at his highest level, $712 billion per year. And it was reduced by basically the Republican Congress before Trump ran so that he could increase it when he took office. But do you think they increased it to 713 billion or 720, or do you think they even got to 712? Did they at least get to 700? No, the big increase that he's been touting. He's so much better than Obama at 688 billion. Okay. Now, that's all just my opinion. Now here's fact that should concern people like David Pakman. People who like to dismiss Russia as a threat. First of all, they didn't get the memo that the United States intelligence services have compiled a congressional research document, congressional research report detailing their assessment that the United States would lose a war against Russia and China. Now, maybe he missed that. But what he also missed, and what a lot of people still seem to miss, is that the idea that America spends 8 times more than the nearest competitor, and that's NATO country, followed by NATO country, followed by... That has not been true since 2014. Okay? Russia has had drastically increased its military budget, although it had to cut back thanks to Obama's sanctions. But China has just kept on trucking along and has been increasing its number and adding to its arsenal of state-of-the-art state-of-the-art fighter aircraft. Da 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 da. So when they talk about you can't compare Russia's military spending, China's to America's. First of all, get up-to-date information. Then, as if that didn't nullify your fucking dismissive little youthful naivety, yes, it's naivety, not naivete. Then consider bang for buck. Okay? Everything that we buy costs 3 to 5 times more than everything that Russia buys. Okay? So basically, what you need to do to get an accurate assessment of fucking reality for once in your little pitiful lives, okay? In your happy little ignorant lives, in your blissful little fact-free fucking universe, where you think you have the facts and that makes you better than the stupid Christians, okay? Understand that you take Russia's and China's budgets and multiply them by 3. Then compare. Because having that much less of a military budget doesn't stop them from having twice as many nukes as us, just as many ships as us, and a hell of a lot more tanks than us. Oh, but we've got aircraft. Yeah, well, they've got fucking anti-aircraft missiles. Again, a lot more than we do. Soldiers? Regulars? Oh, God. They've got almost 1 million, man, they can call up immediately from reserves. And then there's all the retirees and mercs. You're talking about the possibility of raising about a 5 million man army in a matter of months. You want to dismiss Russia again? People have lost your fucking minds. Again, while we were being inundated by thousands of different deployed intelligence operatives creating fake news, active measures materials from all over the world, Europe, fucking South America, India, Southeast Asia, just flooding into the information stream and winding up in different propaganda circles, even here in this country. We had 5 people trying to track that and counteract it. So go ahead and giggle at the Russians' budget if you want to. But there's also this little thing called the Russian mob and fucking black market and well, the fact that that number that you're talking about was given to you by Russians. But anyways, they're still monetized, and I'm not. They're allowed to have viewers, and I'm not. What's the difference in content? Oh, I'm sorry, I use foul language on the internet. No. Joe Rogan's still popular as hell. I see Lewis Black videos and all kinds of people discussing shit just as taboo as what I discuss, if not worse, if not more, if not crazier. What's the difference with me? It's all about them Russians. What am I, racist against other white people? Yeah, I hate those Russians with their big bushy eyebrows. And wait, shit. And now nobody's watching. Let's see, should I wait for Conway or should I call it a broadcast? Oh my goodness. There's a hell of a cute kitten at my feet. ride. Misha, Misha, Misha. Hey, sweet kitty. Comfortable? Oh. Wait, how are you bending that way? What the? Kitty, huh? Money, 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 money. Money. Money, 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 money. Misha, 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 Misha. Misha. Misha, 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 Misha. Sorry, forgot I was like doing stuff. Hi. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, you help us waste electricity. Anyways, I'm all out of notes. So I guess since nobody's here, a random person. Flatten Earth. He has made some interesting comments. Seems a little on the generic side, but it possibly, you know, could be a real person. You never know. I fucking doubt it. I think the last verified real person was probably Lacey. Getting like a wild wave of tiredness all of a sudden. That's better. Somehow I expected that. Zero for a while, and one person shows up, and then another person shows up. So that doesn't happen when it's one of the verified real people. It only happens when it's the random new people. But boy, it sure has gotten nice to be one of the channels who kept their monetization. Oh yes. Because now that they got rid of my monetization, there has been YouTube channels paying to promote videos. And I've been seeing YouTube channels' videos show up as ads again. That was a feature that was no longer present. They demonetized my channel, and now it's back. Nice for them. But anyways, I just want to show y'all something special. You see, most people, like, you would think, like someone who had a YouTube channel with over 1 million, possibly 2 million views if you count the ones that they just deleted for no reason, but well over 1 million views, and had a monetized channel, and was the first person to accurately report on the Trump-Russia scandal, and still is the only actual original conspiracy theorist, turns out, on YouTube. The only basically conspiracy theorist on YouTube who doesn't just fucking quote, spout, or parrot Russian propaganda. Should maybe have a fucking couple of presents for his kids underneath a goddamn Christmas tree. And if you're thinking that's a present, no, that's the Christmas tree stand. That's what we use to stand up the tree. And that's not a Christmas present. That's my wife's trash can. Just in case you were, thinking that was a gift. Anger is a gift. What's it gonna take to get freedom? Dow plunges 800 points. What an interesting trend to start. Right as I discuss my new bombshell by tracking it back all the way to my direct connections with the original, or the 2008-2009 economic collapse. Misha, what are you doing? You're silly. So, nobody's identified the Russian-built Mongolian manned equipment that was parading around in North Korea. Nobody's identified the disparity between Kadyrov leading a rebellion against Russia and then being appointed by Putin to be in charge of the area that he tried to lead a rebellion in. Was one of the commanders in the rebellion. Not one of these supposed right-wing pundits, not one, has mentioned Chechens in Syria, or that Chechens aren't Christian. Just little old me. Not sticking to the script. Actually thinking that, anti-government free speech should be protected at maybe an equal level as pro-government free speech. When people are being brainwashed by Russian propaganda and trying to get other people to hate their own government, that's okay with YouTube. But when someone is trying to stop people from being brainwashed and stop people from being turned against their own government, welcome to my channel. Well, no. Nobody is, really. That's okay. That's just fine. I have full confidence that the result, in the end, will not just be worth it, but be terribly satisfying. And well, it takes a lot to satisfy me. NATO has reaffirmed its commitment to Ukraine. Isn't that lovely? And now Trump says, oh, maybe we should spend less on defense. You already are. You're just pretending you're not. Let's see here. Bush funeral, Brexit, Bush funeral, Brexit, Bush funeral, Brexit. Bush funeral, Brexit. Climate conference, Brexit. The shaky science behind the fourth trimester. Dow Jones plummeting live feed. Bush funeral. Crickets can jump 50 times their body length. Here's how. New York Times. Because that's news. That's like a popular science story, not a New York Times story. And it just happens to be a guy with fucking thick black rimmed glasses. Just Jesus Christ. You're wasting people's fucking attention span in an important time. An important time. Okay, a time that will decide the fate of fucking human beings. Who gives a shit about fucking crickets? If they do, let them read fucking Cricket magazine. Or go to crickets.com. Or cricketfucker.org or whatever. But you see, you do one story, CIA director briefs Senate. And the ad on that same channel, in slightly larger proportion, is going to come up skippable or not at all. And then a story that's about something like crickets jumping 50 times their fucking body length, that's going to get some sort of a neutral type result. And then pro-Trump agenda, pro-atheism agenda, pro-divisionary agenda, pro-fake history, just history factoid shit that's not really relevant or reinforces the cover story, reinforces the fake overall narrative through the use of actual facts. Put there for a reason, meant to have subconscious context with what people are already generally thinking. Greater percentage of unskippable ads on that content. More money getting funneled to those type of people. More views too. That's why Google won't give up its data. But we will see if the American government wants to stand for the survival of the human race or sit idly by as the spiral of destruction spins out of control. In a world that needs caring, unique perspectives to bring people together to solve problems, the world's largest communications platform specializes in making money off of dividing people. That's gotta stop. Or every single problem that's leading to death right now is gonna seem like pittance compared to what winds up happening to all of us as we become more and more divided, and less gets done about the environment, about our health, about our rights. At some point, Mother Nature will have finally had enough. You have to push her so hard, so far, that she thinks raising her own children is no longer worthwhile. It's pretty far to push a mother. But it's not unthinkable when you look at the world around you, is it? You don't need to believe in Mother Nature. You don't need to believe in prophecy or doomsday type shit. There is quantitative science that dictates a limit to mankind on its present path. And that's just atmospheric science. If you take into effect how much damage the ocean can do once it turns sour, you're looking at the extinction of all mammals over 65 pounds, possibly within the next 50 to 100 years. And I mean, probably. And if you want to go into worst case scenarios, 34, 35, maybe as little as 30 years till the ocean turns sour. When the ocean turns sour, that means it suffered such an extensive loss in alkalinity and increase in nitrate and phosphate levels that more than 20% of the overall surface is covered in red and green algae blooms. Eventually, the green algae blooms will subside and give way to ever increasing red algae blooms. Red algae is also properly referred to as cyanobacteria. It does not produce oxygen, it consumes oxygen rapidly. When the ocean turns red, you'll be gasping for breath if you're still alive. First will be all the asthma sufferers, people with weak lungs, the elderly. Eventually, larger people, people in mountains, and you know, we'll see how long the really healthy midgets survive, but how many different ways can mankind be headed towards doom before it sees that it's doing life wrong? Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to click the like button. Y'all take it easy. Don't take it all.